Hello, investors. It is Connor Bates, Associate Portfolio Manager with Revere Asset Management. Today is Wednesday, May 21st, 5:05 p.m. Eastern Time, coming to you with tonight's Revere Roundup Daily Market Insight video. Market state, we are still in an uptrend since those follow-through days. And if we take a look at the trend gauge over here, market leader still have the green arrow with the yellow sub arrow. A couple red flags across the board today, and I'll get into those later. But all in all, so pretty good action. Short term, we're still above the 21 EMA and still on that power trend. Medium term, trading above the 50-day, trying to hook back up. And then long term, yellow above the 200-day, but the Dow, mid caps, Russell, all struggling below the 200-day moving average. So what happened today? Pretty eventful day today. There was a negative 20-year bond auction that prompted the mid-afternoon sell-off and happened pretty quick, and it was fairly aggressive. So we'll see how the charts fared up when I get into that. But final numbers kind of show definitely a stress test day for the markets. 21 over 21 list down 2.11%, 3 green, 18 red. Big 8 down 0.85%, RG8 down 2.25%, S&P down 1.6, RSP down 2.18, QQQ down about 1.4, Equal 8 down 1.73, Dow down 1.93, Midcaps down 2.67, Russell 2000 down 2.81, 60/40 stock and bond down 0.96%. Bonds got crushed today. GROTECTION down 1.68% and TurboTection down 2.47%. All right, let's get into the charts. All right, chart the S&P 500, and we'll start. As long as we hold above the 200-day, this is looking fine. 200-day is at 57.67, about 1.3% away. We are still about almost 5% above the 50-day. You can see that starting to hook back up. But again, super strong off the lows, double-digit gains off the lows. Yesterday, we were almost 4% extended from the 21-day. So you could say we are extended, but at the same time, we are trending quite nicely. Basically, levels to watch into the rest of the week. 58, we closed below 5,900 and the 8 EMA. First closed below the 8 EMA really since we kind of kicked off the rally back here. 200-day and 5,800. Potentially we're forming a handle here below the 6,000 spot. So maybe we touch the 21-day and then, consolidate for a move through 6,000. But again, 21-day, 200-day, those are key lines in the sand. And if we're going to continue with the bullish tone, those got to hold. And I'll bring up an intraday chart and you can see, opened up, consolidated for the first 30 minutes and then saw some nice upside. And then once that bond auction hit, we waterfalled, tried to rally back up and just kind of had a 3 waves down intraday, closed near the lows. So going into the rest of the week, it's going to be important to watch the 21-day, 200-day, 5,800, and we'll see if those levels can hold. RSP, more relative weakness. This is now closing back below the 200-day moving average. Not a great look. The Qs, again, very similar as the S&P 500, right? Once this bond auction, 20-year bond auction occurred, steep sell-off, and going to be watching close below the 8. So 500 is a key psychological level. You have the 21 and the 200-day. And again, to stay with a bullish tone, need those levels to hold, or else, you never know. The market could roll back over. Mag 7, minor relative strength, closed right above the 8 today. Dow Jones, again, another more weakness, closing back below the 200-day moving average and rejecting these recent highs. Mid caps, hard rejection off the 200-day as well. Russell 2000, major relative weakness today, down 2.8 and never even got back up to the 200-day. ARC pullback, maybe this starts to handle out. Leaders outside, bearish engulfing. VIX pop back up, now back over 20. So sometimes Would love to see this get back below 20. So that's another key pivot to watch for risk on, risk off. This was up 11% on the day. So some volatility back into the market, and if this continues higher, the ranges are going to start to expand again. Dollar back below 100. Gold, kind of talking about this, right? The inverse correlation with equities. As the market really started to find its ground right here, this is when, gold put in a lower high and started selling off. Found support at the 50-day moving average, reclaimed the 821. So is this trying to break out of this like flag pennant, or is this going to put a lower high in? We'll see. But kind of my thought here is that if gold starts to roll back over, that'd be good for equities. Starts to break out, that could be negative. Gold stocks, GDX, same thing. See if this is a lower high or it's breaking out. Silver, really big base. This one's on radar as well. Yeah, this is, months of sideways. Take a look at the weekly. The weekly chart looks pretty good as well. Monthly, big base here. So silver on watch. Bitcoin, so briefly made new all-time highs today out of this base and then kind of closed mid-range. That after that bond auction, everything came down. But one thing I was thinking about with this is, right, this is at a pretty big move off the 200 day at 42.98 all the way into 61.75. So, maybe Bitcoin's a little bit extended into this breakout. Typically the best breakouts are when, you're close to the moving averages, you have a tight range. Although this little flag was tight, just feels a little bit extended. So if this rejects, from failed moves come fast moves, that's one thing to keep in mind. But at the same time, this maybe handles out and forms a cup and handle base. So kind of two scenarios, or this just continues higher overnight. This did show some relative strength into the close, sold off less than the general market, and then rallied back up into the close. So did like that relative strength into the close, but again, kind of the scenarios. Bonds are the kind of the talk of the day, making new lows, super bearish charts. TLT again, look, breaking lower out of this, not a good look for bonds. They really need to get back up and reclaim 85 pretty soon. And that coincides with the other talk of today, yields ripping. Really nice base. And one way to express a long would be long TBT. And you can see this is basically short bonds, but really good chart right here. So some red flags today, especially with yields. We know if those really start ramping, that can bring some chaos into the market. So we are aware and cognizant of that. All right, let's get into the tale of the tape. Let's see. The news, yep, negative 20-year bond auction. Tomorrow morning, we have jobless claims and PMI. Going into today, we're watching the S&P versus the 200-day. We are still holding that for now. And then obviously haven't broken above that 6,000 resistance. And then the Qs, again, still living above the 200-day moving average. 530 is that resistance level. Going into tomorrow, Thursday, same thing with the 200-day, 5,800 support zone on the S&P that I would like to see hold. And then again, 500 support level on the Qs that I'd like to see hold. Day count, after up 6/consolidation 1, down 1, after being trading above the 8 EMA for 20 days, this is the first close below, and then still 20 days above the 21. We do have that power trend. Need to continue to trade above the 21 for it to stay alive. Let's see. Sectors wise, Bitcoin relative strength, uranium, gold, and then weakness, regional banks, financials are pretty weak today. Builders, oil, real estate, biotech, software. GROTECTION today, bought UPRO, put a hedge on with SQQQ, and then trimmed Uber, CRS, Bros, Palantir. 1.15 RVAB, 4.12% open heat. TurboTection, bought UPRO, added Soxel, and then sold TEM and MSTR. 1.56 beta, 3.93% open heat. Bottom line, negative 20-year bond auction prompts afternoon sell-off. Let's get in some charts of interest. So start with GROTECTION, trades-wise. S&P, was coming back up. looked like it was gearing for a breakout this afternoon, kind of came back, added to UPRO, and then put a hedge on with the weakness. Uber trimmed some of this, coming back into the top of the base, see if that's hold, just locking in. And obviously had that news about Tesla announced that stuff about the robo taxis yesterday. Uber's reacting negatively so far. CRS trimmed half of this again, a little bit extended into that pivot 20. Bros, um, you know, not falling through after that pullback by yesterday, and then Palantir coming back into the 21. You know, failing for a breakout now and against that 125.41 level. TurboTection added to UPRO, added to SoxL. We'll just go SMA. Semis looked like they were breaking out a flag this morning, came back in, but still look constructive in this consolidation. If you look at Nvidia again, these candles look worse after the bond auction, but during the day, these were looking really constructive, trying to break out of these flags. You had Nvidia, you had Avgo, you had ALAB, you had ARM. But again, all these charts still look fine. Nvidia hasn't even closed below the 8 EMA, and it's still 7.5% above the 21. So obviously that wouldn't feel great, but if it did pull back to the 21 and the 200-day, there wouldn't be necessarily anything wrong with the chart after this move up and let those moving averages get more aligned and start to slope back up. Then stopped out of 10, breaking the 21, failed breakout, and then sold the rest of MSTR. Didn't act great given, it tends to outperform Bitcoin. And even when Bitcoin was breaking out, this was quite lackluster and it closed back or closed right above 400, but struggling. So maybe this one needs more time and would add it back. Alrighty. Let's get in the 21 over 21 list. CoreWeave, this one crazy chart. Up 19% on the day, blasting through 100. Bitcoin still looks good. See if you can follow through off that breakout. GEV, just a beast. Close green. Another new all-time high for this one today. Relative strength line, new highs. Again, a little bit extended. This surely, this really could kind of put a handle out, especially if the market stays weak. This probably pulls back. Netflix sitting right at that profit zone at that 1200 psych level. Chewy continues to grind higher. Zscaler, just digestion day. APP flagging here. Robinhood rejected these 66.91 highs. Maybe this one starts to handle. Nvidia, CRS, Boeing flagging here at the highs. Duolingo, again, breaking the 8, but again, nothing wrong. This probably just needs to flag a little bit. Spotify, stalling at these highs a little bit. Could just use a little handle here. NRG, pulling back to the 8, super strong after that earnings gap. Tesla, pulling back to the 8 as well. Maybe just consolidates in this flag here. Toast, pulling back as well. Letting these moving averages catch up and maybe start to handle flag out. Carvana, again, you can see what's the chart theme right now. A lot of names could argue short-term extended, but we're seeing a lot of these flags. So as long as they don't completely fall apart, I think it's actually really constructive and could be setting up great pullback opportunities. Uber, again, see if it holds the 21 and this top of this base. Bros, see if it holds the 50-day. Palantir, again, same as many of these charts. Is this going to handle out here, or is this going to put in a double top and break down lower? PIMS, again, same thing. See this handle out. This has got a high tight flag as well, letting that 21-day catch up. So overall, when you look at 21 over 21 list, despite the market being down, 1.6%, a lot of them, a handful of them were down, 3-4%. But for some of these stocks, they're growth stocks. They have high ATRs. That's just a normal day for these. Some of these stocks are moving 4 to 6% is their average daily range. So again, that's normal. Most of these names haven't even tested the 21. When you're in a strong uptrend, all names typically eventually test the 21-day. You don't know when, but again, that just shows that, handful of them were a little bit extended. So I think the key, well, I don't think, what we're focusing on into the end of the week is how these names are supported on the pullbacks, whether that be a support level, the 21 day is S&P against the 200-day 21. Again, two key levels that we're watching. Is this going to handle out, or is this just or we're going to roll over after not being able to get over this 6,000 level? And then the VIX, if that starts to continue higher through 20, through 25, that could be a risk off sign as volatility is expanding, ranges will get bigger in general, and yeah, it just won't be as conducive of an environment. But definitely a stress test day today. Going to be important into the rest of the week how the market acts. So as always, we'll be here every day the market is open, giving our thoughts, what we're looking at. That is going to wrap it. As always, love to hear from you. Email is connor@revereasset.com. You can reach out to me on Twitter at ConnorJBates_. Phone is 855 Real Wealth, 855-732-5932. And if you're ever interested in becoming a client, as always, please reach out. Thanks for watching and have a great night.